he had one of the most famous lines. He says, second place is just the first loser. That's right. Second place, just the first loser. It kind of catches the essence, really, of elite competition, don't you think? I mean, this idea that you don't win the silver. I mean, you're losing that prize, the goal. Everybody's desire is to win first place, and second place is just the first loser. Athletes enter competition, right, with that singular goal and purpose in mind. At least elite athletes do. I mean, that's they go in believing that they're going to win. Nobody goes into a competition thinking, yeah, we're going to lose, but by God, we're going to have fun doing it, right? I mean, that's not the goal. The goal is to win the prize, to be the team with the most runs or points at the end of the game. That's the goal of every competition. Legendary coach of the Green Bay Packers, Vince Lombardi, he tried to instill this winning attitude into his football players when he said, winning is not everything, it's the only thing, right?
That's why they keep scoring.
What's that?
That's why they keep scoring.
That's right, that's why you keep scoring the game, exactly. Yep. I mean, this thinking has been around since the beginning of competition. It has been around way back in the early days of the Olympic Games. There's an epitaph of a boxer who competed in the Olympics. His name was, I don't know if I can actually pronounce it correctly or not, but Agathos Damon. He's from Alexandria, and it was found on a monument at Olympia in Greece. It said this, his epitaph said this: here he died boxing in the stadium, having prayed to Zeus for a wreath or death. Age 35, farewell. That would, I mean, there is no second place. The goal was to win or die trying. Second place was not an option. You go for the gold, right? The Apostle Paul often described the Christian life using athletic metaphors, and really his stated goal was to win the race of the Christian life and not lose it, right? Winning means giving up everything else, right? Giving up your freedoms for somebody else, to all these other things. We give it up. We give all this up for this one thing, to win the prize at the end of our lives. There is nothing else. There is no second place. Second place in the Christian life is the first loser. I mean, he's been talking about this idea of freedoms and matters of opinion and giving up my own freedom for the sake of someone else's rights to know and understand the gospel, to help somebody else grow. We talked last week, his own personal illustration of this sacrifice that he was willing to make so that others could know and grow in the gospel of Jesus Christ. And now, here at the end of his discussion in 1 Corinthians chapter 9, he uses a sports analogy. So turn there with me. 1 Corinthians chapter 9, verses 24 through 27 is where we're going to be. 1 Corinthians chapter 9, verse 24, Paul says, do you not know that in a race all the runners run, but only one gets the prize? There were no silver or bronze medals back in these days of the Olympic Games. And we don't, race against, our race is not against one another though, right? So it's not like I'm going to beat you, and if I get to the finish line before you get to the finish line, this isn't what he's talking about, the one winning the prize. Who are we racing against? Who do we fight against? Who is our enemy? The one that we're competing against here. Satan, that's right. The devil is the one. So there is no room for second place when it comes to this competition that we essentially have, racing against the devil, this race of life, our Christianity. There's no participation trophy for us in the end, right? I tried hard, but the devil just beat me just one too many times, right? There's no participation trophy. There's no second place in this race against the forces of evil in this dark world Paul talks about in Ephesians 6. So, Paul continues, he says, so run in such a way as to get the prize. How? Verse 25. Everyone who competes in the games goes into strict training, right? They do it to get a crown that will not last. But we do it to get a crown that will last forever. And therefore, I do not run like a man running aimlessly. I do not fight like a man beating the air. No, I beat my body and make it my slave, so that after I have preached to others, I myself will not be disqualified for the prize. That is intense, isn't it? I think before we get into talking this through, we better stop and pray for this. Let's pray. Father, thank you so much for giving us the strength and the courage and the determination, the ambition to run the Christian race, the life of following Christ in such a way as to win the prize again. Help us to stay focused on the finish line. Help us to stay focused on Jesus Christ, stay focused on the opportunity to do for eternity. Give us the courage and strength to train in such a way, to run in such a way as to win, and not give up, not go the wrong way, get out of our lane. Father, you are good. We know that you go with us, that your Holy Spirit be moving and active and alive within us, that we might find victory through Jesus. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. All right, so every couple of years in this day, they really alternated years with the original Olympics was what was called the Isthmian Games, and this is what Paul is talking about. He's talking about everybody competes in the games. He's talking the city of Corinth hosted these games. These games were the second most important or most popular in Greece in these days, second only to the Olympic Games. And so they got it. They got this illustration. They understood what he meant, what he was talking about. This was such an important part of their lives, and they enjoyed watching and seeing others compete at such a high level. And we get it too, though, don't we? I mean, we understand what he's talking about here. We watch, not right now, I mean, we can't wait to be able to watch elite athletes compete at a high level for one prize. I mean, we watch every day of the week if we can. We kind of say, when it's football season, everybody centers their entire week around Monday Night Football or Sunday football, right? I mean, except for Sue, she's shaking her head. Now, she doesn't care about that guy. But most people in America, I mean, baseball, could watch it every single night. Basketball, don't care for NBA, but I love watching Hannah play, right? I couldn't wait to watch Hannah play. I mean, we like watching elite athletes. In fact, at times, though, we think we can do it better than them. No, we're armchair quarterback. We sit in the stands or we sit at home and we yell at the TV because somehow they're not doing it good enough and we can do it better than them. I mean, but we don't, sitting in the stands, we don't live the thousands of shots that a basketball player will not just take, but make and practice to be a great shooter. We don't run the thousands of miles that a runner will run or lift the thousands of pounds of weight to get strong. Or, I whined and cried and complained when Hannah made me do sit-ups with her a week ago. She tried to get me to do them again just the other day. I'm like, you hurt me. I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it. I was. I was sore for a week. But we seem to want to be world-class athletes or a world-class musician or an actor without having to put in the work, don't we? You know, it's true with the Christian life too, I think, for so many. We want to be world-class Christians like the Apostle Paul without putting in the work. It's easier for us to sit in the stands and cheer for somebody else. It's easier for us to yell at the TV, so to speak, you know, and complain about preachers and evangelists and complain about people who aren't acting like they're supposed to. It's easier for us to whine and complain and think we can do it better, but we don't want to put in the actual work to be out there on the field and running. It's without discipline, we'll never be able to do what's asked of us and required of us to be world-class Christian that God wants us to be. But you know, think about it. Paul didn't change the world by waking up in the morning and praying, God, give me an opportunity to reach somebody with the gospel today. And then hoping that the opportunity God gives him isn't too hard, that I won't be too embarrassed, that I won't be too busy and I'll miss it when the opportunity comes, right? He didn't wake up and pray for an opportunity. What did he do? He woke up and took the opportunities that came. Every opportunity he pursued. He didn't just wait for them to come to him. He woke up every morning filled with purpose and ambition. I mean, Jesus, when he met him on the road to Damascus, he gave Paul's life purpose. And he called him to something much greater than himself. And it's this same calling that we've been given. Our calling is no different than the calling of the Apostle Paul. The only difference between the Apostle Paul and us is when we get up, we complain about all the stuff we have to do today. We're tired of all the stuff we had to do yesterday. And we only do what we want to do. And the Apostle Paul, when he got up in the morning, he decided to do what God asked him to do. And he did what was right for you before he did what was right for himself. He sacrificed everything of his own selfish ambitions and desires and will and wants for you, for the people that he encountered every single day. He was willing to give up all of his own freedoms so that you could find freedom in Christ. It takes discipline and work, doesn't it? We have this calling to go because Christ cares. And it's hard to go every single day, isn't it? It takes discipline for us to go in the name of Jesus Christ. And wherever he sends us, to whomever he sends us. But let me tell you something. The prize at the end of this race is worth it. It's worth every ounce of energy. It's worth every single bit of effort. It's worth the pain, the sacrifice, the blood, sweat, and the tears. Those that in Paul's day who competed for the prize, you know what their prize was? It was a celery wreath that they put on their heads, right? It would pass away. That's what he's talking about. They competed for something that would pass away. We compete for something that lasts forever. The prize that we win because of our willingness to train and be disciplined and run the race is worth it for eternity. It's not just a temporary here and now kind of thing. So why not train for it? Why not? Why not us? A lot of teams, when they start the season as an underdog, that's their mantra. Why not us? Why not us? Let's train for it. Let's run with perseverance, staying so focused that we won't, just like Paul, be disqualified for the prize. So what does training look like? Now let's just simplify it, right? Okay. If you're a runner, what do? You run. If you're a ball player, you play ball. If you're a musician, you make music. Right. If you're a Christian, you serve. That's what we do. What does it look like to train? What does our training look like? We just serve. We just serve. Christ said, I came to serve, not to be served. So you do it till you get it right. Right? Practice makes perfect, or maybe even better stated, perfect practice makes perfect. You do it until you get it right, and then you continue to do it to get better. Right? You eat, you sleep, you dream, you live what you do until you just can't do it anymore. And the only thing that stops us from doing it is when they put on our epitaph, he said, one more for Jesus. Right? We serve until we can't serve anymore. Like Jimmy went to the hospital just not too long ago. How many people did you share the gospel with laying in that hospital bed after having a heart attack, Jimmy? He told me 3 on the phone to that point, and I had talked to him. He had already shared the gospel. It doesn't matter whether you're in a hospital bed or you're at your workplace, you're at school. It doesn't matter where you are. One more for Jesus. Keep serving. You know, everyone who wants to be great at something has to first, though, be taught, right? You have to be taught and coached along the way. You know, you don't wake up one morning and go, okay, this is what I'm going to do without getting help along the way. It just doesn't happen. No great athlete has ever figured it out on his own. I've had a lot of boys on my baseball teams through the years think they're great as 10-year-olds, 11-year-olds, and don't want to listen to any coaching, and they just want to be great without putting in the work. And guess how many are in the MLB today? 0, right? I mean, it doesn't work that way. And I've seen way too many Christians think that, you know, they could automatically just be great Christians too without putting in a tremendous amount of work, having a tremendous work ethic to become great. You know, you have to be coachable, but you also have to be a great teammate in order to be great in whatever you do. It's the same with the Christian life. Once you get on God's team, so to speak, right, He wants you to work hard. He wants you to be a great teammate and be coachable. We learn to serve. Really, I think the best way to learn to serve is to serve alongside those who are great servants. Spend some time with Jim just cutting down a tree for somebody who needs it. All right? Or with Greg working on somebody's car who can't work on it themselves. Or go with Q and mow some yards. People that probably could but won't mow their own yards, right? I mean, or Spencer, fixing somebody's plumbing who can't fix. I mean, I could just keep going around the list, things that people do just in this room. Go with somebody, serve with somebody who's serving. That's how you learn to serve. You learn from somebody else who's doing it. You go with them, you do it with them, and then you do it yourself, and then you take somebody else and do it also. We learn best by serving together. All right? Being in Bible studies and our small groups and being in worship, these opportunities help us to grow in our understanding and our desire. Making it our heart's desire to be the kind of servant that God needs us to be. But when we neglect serving with others, when we neglect being in Bible studies, when we neglect being in worship together, guess what happens to our desire to do what God wants us to do? flame fades and it goes away. And pretty soon, we're back to doing all the things that I want to do instead of what God wants me to do for the sake of other people. All of a sudden now, I have free time, so I get to choose what I'm going to do with my own free time. Right? Instead of what God wants me to do with my free time. So we need to be in these opportunities, growing in our understanding and our desire, and doing it with others, and just go out and do it, right? When we intentionally sacrifice ourselves for the sake of our neighbors, our co-workers, our family, our friends, even our enemies, right? Begins to become second nature to us. And the more we do it, the more we want to do it, and the more we continue to do it. And not, always looking for the next opportunity to serve. Attacking every opportunity, not just sitting back, waiting, hoping we don't miss it, right? A marathon runner doesn't wait for the marathon to come to them, does he? Does she? A marathon runner has to do what? Has to seek out the next marathon to run, has to register for it, has to pay the cost to get in to it, has to train for it, and then has to go what? Has to go run it. Has to actually go run the race, too. I mean, it takes all of this. You don't just wait for it to come to you. You go after it. Same for us. I mean, we have to show up and serve. Of course, Satan wants you to get lazy, right? Satan likes it when I'm laying on my couch eating Chips Ahoy cookies and milk, right? Instead of watching Blue Bloods every night, right? I mean, Satan likes it when we get lazy and undisciplined, preoccupied with ourselves. He wants us to get tripped up in our Christian race, and on our race to the finish, he wants us to trip and fall flat on our faces. He wants us to give up. He wants us to get out of our lane and lose our focus and maybe even get lost along the way, running the wrong way. That's what he wants for us. And not only does he want you to lose, but he wants you to get lost. So, get running with the buddy. Get a running buddy. How much easier is it to stay in training if you have somebody to do it with? I don't know, that's why she keeps asking me. I keep telling her no, but if you have a running buddy, it's a whole lot easier to stay motivated and to stay at it, to persevere. We help each other, train hard, be disciplined, stay the course, persevering all the way to the end. So let's live the Christian life that way, right? As though we want to win, though we expect to win, as though we need to win the eternal prize. The Isthmian athletes competed to win this temporary celery crown. We compete for an eternal one. We don't compete just to get a participation trophy. Please, don't compete in the Christian life for just a participation trophy. We're in it to win it. There's so much, there's far too much at stake in somebody else's life. There's far too much at stake for us to just stand in the outfield picking dandelions all day. Right? There's way too much. I mean, other people's eternity at stake. So run the race so others may know and grow in the gospel. Let's sacrifice ourselves today and daily. As long as it is called today. Let's be disciplined in our training so that others can run the race set out for them also. Be motivated. I mean, if I look in each of our faces here, are we motivated? Are you motivated to run the race with discipline? To put in the work and to have the work ethic that it takes so that others may know and grow in the gospel? Is there a little bit of gospel ambition in you at all? Fan that flame. If you don't, get with somebody who does, and see if it won't catch, if it's not contagious, and you won't catch what they have. Train well. Give up your own comforts. Stay focused, self-control. Like Paul says, slaves to God's purpose, so as to not lose the crown waiting for you at the end of the race. What do you say?